I've gotten here organically. I've gotten here through procedures that deserved, in my opinion, at the time, to be on a talk show or be on TV because they were special.
Hello and welcome to Beauty and the Biz, where we talk about the business and marketing side of plastic surgery. I'm your host, Catherine Maley, author of Your Aesthetic Practice, What Your Patients Are Saying, as well as consultant to plastic surgeons to get them more patients and profits. Now, today's special guest, it took me a long time to get him. It's Dr. Ashkan Ghavami. He's a board-certified plastic surgeon in private practice in the heart of Beverly Hills and has been there for the past 20 years. Now, Dr. Ghavami has become a world-renowned celebrity plastic surgeon known for his signature philosophy as well as podcast, both called Keep Them Guessing. And he trademarked that, and that's really good. He delivers natural yet transformative results that have made him the go-to surgeon for celebrities and patients from around the world. And he has enjoyed much PR from the media. Now, he's the innovator behind techniques such as Flash Recovery Breast Aug, the S-Curve Butt Lift, and Regenalift Facial Rejuvenation. Dr. Ghavami is also president of the Rhinoplasty Society, co-director of the Aesthetic Plastic Surgery Fellowship of Los Angeles, and author of the groundbreaking textbook, Global Rhinoplasty, a multicultural approach, which teaches surgeons how to create harmony rather than uniformity in diverse faces. And this summer, his soft triangle tension graft and scientific publication made the cover of the ASPS August issue of Plastic and Reconstructive Surgery, the #1 journal in the plastic surgery field. Now, when he's not training the next generation of surgeons or co-chairing international conferences on regenerative aesthetics, he's performing pro bono reconstructive surgeries for Face Forward International. Dr. Ghavami, welcome so much to Beauty and the Biz. It is a pleasure to have you.
Thank you so much. You're well researched. That's impressive. Like you didn't miss a mark.
Oh, good. So the big question is always, how did you get from wherever you started to the middle of Beverly Hills? And what was that journey like? Because I know it's never linear.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, it was definitely nobody really wanted me in town. The last thing some of the successful plastic surgeons back then in the early 2000s wanted was another guy coming, especially from a top-notch training program where I was fortunate to be. I trained basically with the who's who of aesthetic surgery in Dallas, Texas at UT Southwestern and it's always been pretty much like one of the top training programs in the world for producing the best plastic surgeons. And most of the people graduating from there tend to become leaders of some sort, like at least 5 or 6 of them have become presidents of the Rhinoplasty Society, like myself when I was. So it was definitely an uphill battle. And also back then it was a little more organic. So the work spoke for itself. Right now, you could basically be only operating 1 time a week, barely have any experience under your belt, but have a certain look to you and have the right office and the right staff and the right social media director, do some cool interviews, give some information out and start getting patients through that. Back then, you couldn't do that. There was no platform. There was no social media. There was no Instagram. You just had your website and your reputation. And so you had to produce results. So I made sure every single person I operate on, I did the best I could for them, did top-notch surgery, produced the results, and then put those in an album in my waiting room. And then every single one of them that I could get consent from, which I tried to consecutively get consent from all of them, I posted them on my website. So you had the before afters. And then I would say in around 2009 or 10, about 3-4 years into practice, I did hire a publicist at the time. And that time it was important to be on TV. It was not social media. It wasn't YouTube. It was TV. So with the help of some of my innovative procedures like my Flash Recovery Breast Augmentation, and I got a little bit of notoriety because I operated on Iggy Azalea, a hip hop star's breasts, and she was open to it, gave interviews to GQ and Vogue about it, had me on her social media without me even asking her to. She just wanted to do it. And then she danced with J-Lo at the American Music Awards 4 days after her breast augmentation. And this was talked about at the time. And, little by little, things caught on. And hey, this guy in Beverly Hills is doing things a little differently. And then I had a big focus in ethnic rhinoplasty because a lot of people don't know how to do all the different ethnicities in those jobs. They just know how to maybe remove a hump, lift the tip a little, keep it simple. but being able to operate on all ethnic backgrounds from around the globe is a whole nother thing. And so I had a kind of a subspecialty in that, and that's why I ended up in the textbook. It culminated eventually into a textbook I edited along with, it was a passion project of mine. I'll show it to you in a second, actually. It's cool because the cover, I don't know if you're able to show graphics on here, but if you show the cover, if you zoom
Can
in,
you just hold it up?
yeah, let me get it real well. Yeah, here it is. So basically, the cover is different noses. It's noses from around the globe, and so basically, if you look at it, you can see. I don't know if there's a glare. Can you see that those are noses?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So it's all different types of noses, but it just looks like the topography of Earth. But that was kind of a concept of mine, and so this is really the whole goal is like rhinoplasty. You need to be able to take in any ethnicity through the door, any revision, et cetera, et cetera. So, and it just caught on little by little. My TV appearances, I was on Good Morning America. I was on Tyra Banks, Ricky Lake a few times. I was on The Doctors like 5 or 6 times the show. And then I was on Entertainment Tonight, Extra. It's funny, the first time I was on TV was so cool. It was so organic because I didn't even expect it. But I reconstructed breasts from a person who was in a dental office, and a jealous coworker's ex-boyfriend came in with a machine gun, shot at all of them, and she survived with the bullet being about a few centimeters away from her heart because of her large saline and breast implants. So I got all these interviews. Discovery Channel did a whole Mythbusters thing on it where they were doing ballistic testing. I got on Tyra from that. And so a lot of organic kind of things came my way. Little by little, eventually, when Instagram came around, I recognized how important that's going to be. I kind of saw the future before a lot of surgeons did. Because at the time, some people made fun of me for being on Instagram. Can you believe that? Now it's like the norm. There are people on Instagram as medical students or pre-med students. They don't even wait till they're a doctor. So, and then I was one of the first to be on Instagram. I was one of the first people to put videos on Instagram, put music to it, show my results through video, and do some stuff in the office and get creative. And now all these people are talking into the microphone and their camera and doing educational stuff. But back then, I was basically doing that for my car. So like I would have my car parked and I would give like wisdom of the day. So like all this kind of just came to me organically. And then it started getting all muddied and dilute, and became just aggressive. And it just became so much chaos, and it became a circus. And then surgeons were like trying to get views by dancing and being silly and being clowns, and like it's all become so chaotic now. But that was kind of the golden era of social media when it first started. It was kind of beautiful, it was fun. And now it's just who's like anybody could just go and have a major page, go viral, and they could be some of the worst surgeons in the world, or they can go buy reviews. Like there's no way right now to tell reality from what really someone's capable of anymore. It's completely, I would hate to be a consumer or a patient shopping for plastic surgery right now, because I wouldn't know who to believe and where to go at this point.
Say it all the time. A good marketer can outbeat an excellent surgeon, at least in the short run.
Yeah, that's true. But one reason I'm still here in Beverly Hills, despite having a lot of, as the young folks say, haters, is because I really dedicate myself to this job. I live and breathe it. I lecture it, teach it, write about it. I have a fellowship, as you said. I'm training the next generations along with some of my respected colleagues. And, it's exhausting, to be honest with you, to be able to do that and manage the people down the hall and people around who are just paying for reviews. I mean, there's people paying $10,000-$20,000 a month to Yelp. And when you do that, they remove your bad ones without a fight. You know what I mean? So, and then they're paying companies to write all these good reviews. Like you see people with 500, 300, 400, 4.5, 5-star Google reviews, and they've been in practice for like 2-3 years. I mean, it's just so funny to me. But things are becoming really, really weird. And in addition to that, AI, I don't even know where that's going to take us. I mean, I knew some surgeons back in the day. I would do a lot of revision noses, and they would show me their nose on the surgeon's website or Instagram, and it looked nothing like that. They completely photoshopped the result. And here they are seeking me out for a revision. Now with AI, I think both video and photos are going to be really hard to be able to tell what's real and what's not. There's so many gimmicks and tricks, and the classic one is when you show a facelift result. The before, she's coming looking down a little bit, the light's coming from above, so you see all the dark shadows. It's kind of like when we were at the campfire as kids, we'd want to tell a story. We'd put the light here to look scary. They make them look all scary, no makeup, hair's not done, it's not dyed. Then in the after, their neck posture is stiff. The lighting is here with umbrella lighting, bright, bright light, little bit of subtle makeup, hair done. It's just those kind of things. Or one of these, I'm not going to say the country, but there's a country that has a bunch of surgeons where the before rhinoplasty, the camera's up in their face, so the nose looks extra huge, and they make the nose look bigger than it is. It's like impossible to just get that before after. But those before afters go viral, and people are commenting. They're getting thousands of comments. It's just insane to me that people fall for this stuff. But so that's basically the landscape in a nutshell. You asked how I got from there to here. What I'd like to say, and I take pride in, I've gotten here organically. I've gotten here through procedures that deserved, in my opinion, at the time, to be on a talk show or be on TV because they were special, and not a lot of people were doing things like that at the time. I was one of the first in LA to be doing fat transfer of the buttock. They didn't even have garments back then. Real Self didn't even have a category for Brazilian butt lift when I was doing it. So it's interesting to see it all evolve, the landscape.
Well, a couple thoughts. I highly recommend everyone use watermarks and date everything, and that'll help.
Mhm.
And then Elon said he's figured out how to
Like
he's
AI.
figured out how to
Yeah.
identify
The
a
best
real.
AI would be an AI that detects AI.
Yeah.
There are some programs I've heard of some people trying to see if someone's photoshopped their results. It'd be
Mhm.
also great to really see if a review is real or not too, but that's hard to tell because it could be someone's cousin writing it. It could be a real person, but it's
Right.
just not the patient. Like there was somebody in a city, I don't remember where it was in America, where they caught their wife writing a bunch of bad reviews of a competing surgeon in town. It's so
That was
hilarious.
Vegas.
Oh, it
Yeah.
was. Yeah. It's insane the kind of things that go on.
For sure. You know what? Then let's talk about marketing first, since you went
Yeah.
there. The way you've differentiated is you put together some signature procedures. How long ago did you do that? Because I say that all the time.
Mhm.
Signature procedures will
But
differentiate you.
there's too many of them now. I don't think that applies anymore because right now, for example, every single surgeon who's busy enough doing facelifts or certain things is calling it something. It
Yeah.
confuses the market because you could be calling something, the celebrity star best facelift, but you
Hmm.
could be doing just a mastectomy where you're just cutting a portion of smath, putting it together, something that would take me 2 hours.
Hmm.
Whereas you can go above here, go under the SMAS and do a very advanced anatomical dissection, redrape very naturally, but something that can last 10 to 15 years, go under the platysma, and you might call it nothing. Just say, I'm doing a facelift.
Yeah.
So it's really, I think signature procedures, naming things, although recently I'm to blame because I named Regenilift, which I'll talk about why.
And didn't you number it 1, 2, and 3?
Yeah, we'll go over that for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's different levels of facial rejuvenation, and
Right.
right now with Ozempic and everything, I'm doing versions of facelifting, mostly endoscopically, in people in their 20s who've lost 30, 40 pounds from Ozempic. So there's an indication for that now in all age groups. This isn't just your grandma's facelift anymore. But at the time when I came to LA, I knew LA was missing three things. I've always thought of the buttocks of a woman is so important in their overall aesthetic. I didn't do any of them in residency. I just kind of figured it out by reading some articles and just little by little put a little bit, then more, then more, then more. We didn't even have garments. I used to have to cut a hole in the garment for the buttock to come out of because there weren't garments for that back then. So around 2008, 2009, I was at a place called Beverly Hills Physicians part time, and I was doing a ton of this body work back then. I was doing a lot, especially in the Latina population, being one of the first. I almost operated on all their staff. That everybody that worked there wanted this from me.
Was it fat transfer or implants?
Yes, no, I never do buttock implants ever. I don't agree with them. This is fat transfer. This is what people call BBL. And at the time, I called it an S curve because the S of an S curve is more descriptive. And it's also S for subcutaneous because I never put it under the muscle.
Yeah.
So that's safe, and S for safety. So I serendipitously, the term S curve, S then later applied to being safe, because I guess a lot of people didn't know how to do it right. And that's when all those complications and deaths and issues have happened around the world. But so at that time, it was S curve, ethnic rhinoplasty, which we talked about. And then I learned from a genius surgeon, John Tebbets, how to do a quick recovery technique at the time and I called it flash recovery. I even had him bless that term back when he was alive. God rest his soul. Amazing genius guy. And that's where you do a breast dog. Basically, there's no bleeding. It's very calculated. You know what you're doing. You're under the muscle, dual plane, and you can do it in about 20, 25, 30 minutes at tops with no bleeding and trauma. Whenever you're putting a foreign object in the body like that, like whether you're doing a hip joint replacement or artificial valve in the heart and knee joint, you do not want to be lagging and dragging that surgery and having it all exposed to the air, no matter how sterile the environment is. You do not want to do a slow knee replacement, you know? And the same thing with the breast augmentation. So he figured this all out, and nobody in town was doing it at the time, except for one person. Steve Teitelbaum was doing it because he trained under him a little bit too. And I in Dallas, that's all I learned from him and Bill Adams. That's all we knew how to do, is do it that way. So that went viral, essentially. I did it on Iggy Azalea. I did it on a lot of different celebrities. I did it on Twins. It got on Entertainment Tonight, Extra. And I did it on the doctor's TV show live. We did it recording at 7:30 a.m. And she came on stage 11:30 a.m. in high heels and putting her arms up in the air with just one Motrin and no muscle relaxants, nothing. Fresh out of surgery, essentially. And like everybody was blown away. But so those three things to me was kind of my niche.
The smartest practices know a big part of their practice growth comes from retention, referrals, and repeat treatments, not just from new internet stranger leads. That's why I created the KISS Loyalty Club, a done-for-you system that keeps your patients returning, referring, reviewing, sharing you on social media, and completing surgery. Discover how KISS can grow your own practice revenues by visiting kissloyalty.com today. Sometimes I see rapid recovery. One surgeon has a 24-hour breast dog. Why don't I see that more? Because most surgeons, when we mystery shop, they still say the downtime is at least a week, and if not more.
It shouldn't be. Well, it also depends. What do you mean by downtime? Downtime can be, when can I drive? When can I go to an event or party and go out? Some people these days, it's like, when can I drink? The other is, when can I go work out and go back to the gym? It's always 4 to 6 weeks. Probably 6 weeks is safest for any surgery. Nose job, breast, S-curve, Brazilian butt lift. 6 weeks is what I tell everybody. Now, 24-hour flash recovery breast dog, the reason Tebbets created this is because people were literally not able to move their arm above their shoulder. They were bruised, swollen. They were wrapped like a mummy, tight, drain tubes being used, given muscle relaxants, narcotics, like just completely out of it for a breast dog that could take 24 minutes with no bleeding, where you lift your arms up in the recovery room and that night after surgery with no limitations. You just can't lift heavy. And in general, people feel good 24 hours later. So, but you know, a lot of the people that are advertising rapid recovery 24-hour, they're just advertising it, but they're not actually producing that result. I remember long ago, at the time, I thought he was a friend. He copied my technique verbatim from my website, put it out in a press release, called it something else. But when I was talking to his nurses, they were saying he's putting in 500 cc high profile implants. It's bloody. He's doing blunt dissection. He's giving them Percocet and muscle relaxants. So he just used the verbiage, but wasn't delivering that result. So once again, how a surgeon markets, what they say, what reviews they have, even unfortunately now with AI, their before afters, the angles they shoot in, the degree of ethics and honesty is out the window today. Out the window. You really, I should say there's less than a dozen surgeons in Los Angeles that I would actually trust, that when you're in their care under anesthesia, they're going to do the right thing every time. They're not going to take shortcuts, and they're going to take care of you if something goes wrong after. Less than a dozen. And there's about 200-300 people in this greater LA area that do cosmetic plastic surgery.
And what do you think about IV sedation versus general?
Depends on the procedure. Some revision, little touch-up rhinoplasty, especially ones of my own that I have to touch up and revise. And when you're doing a lot of revision rhinoplasties, you'd be a liar of a surgeon to say you don't have to revise those because we're taking on basically a nose that's gone through World War II sometimes. And, you can't rebuild Germany in a day. And so when we went in there and we go in and we're like, whoa, and I'm building it back, sometimes the best we can see is 75, 80% improvement. And some people these days, with all the selfies, pictures, and criticism and social media, self-obsession, they want that last 15, 20% too, as much as possible. So it's not unlikely, I mean, to have 20 to 30% revision rates of your own revision that you did of someone else's work a year or two later. And those sedation, definitely, like you don't need to be fully under. Um, Minor little things like fat transfer, facial reshaping, buccal fat pad, jawline radio frequency with maybe an endoscopic lift, you could do under sedation. Little mini like neck lifts can be done under sedation. But in general, if your anesthesiologist is good, there's nothing wrong with going under. That's not what's unsafe about a surgery. What's unsafe is if your surgeon doesn't understand anatomy and is blowing through nerves and vessels, causing undue bleeding, trauma, changing anatomy, damaging an anatomy, or making wrong moves. And then if you're also not healthy and you're going under anesthesia, like you shouldn't be undergoing surgery in general if your health isn't good. It's elective surgery. It's not a mandatory thing.
You're in Beverly Hills, and I know you've done a lot of work with the influencers and the
Mhm.
celebrities. How different are they than just the good old lay people?
It's crazy. One of my nicest, where when we had fires in LA, God bless her soul, she WhatsApp messaged me if me and my family are okay. And she was an
Oh,
A-list award-winning actress. And then I have like these B, C-list reality stars that walk in here like they just like they're like queens. And
hmm.
like they're not nice to my staff. They don't take their sunglasses off. Everyone's different. It's all in how you were raised and whether you're insecure and what things you've gone on in your life to the point where that little bit of fame gets to your head or not. So if your head's screwed on right and you had good upbringing and you're a real person, fame and billionaire status and money shouldn't change your core that much. But some of these people are just it's really hard to say. Some of the influencers, as they say, I mean, that term is kind of being thrown out at this point. Like hotels hate them. All right. All these restaurants, they like call and want to get in for free and get this and get that. I really don't work with them that much anymore. And I don't give really reduced fees anymore because a lot of them don't deliver what they say they're going to. I've been burned a lot where they just don't come back and like, or they like get a minor issue and instead of like coming to me to fix it, they go like shop around and they're usually the least loyal, the
Yeah.
influencer types, because they just go from surgeon to surgeon and get something free here, something free there, something free there. So there, most of my colleagues that are like on my level don't really care for them much. I like working with creatives, people that are really talented, they create. Um, Models are fun too because they're so like they have such an artistic vision sometimes. Musicians are my favorite because I play guitar. I really bond with musicians very well. And then athletes, I bond with because I always ask them advice for my own health. And like, I try to click with everybody. Like, I'm kind of like, plastic surgery is a little bit like family practice with a scalpel. Like, you're basically seeing the son for an ear pinning at the age of 9. You're doing the daughter's nose at 17, 16, 18. You're doing the mom's facelift at like 45, 50, and you're doing the grandma's Regenolift 3 at 70. It's a very interesting dynamic. That's one reason why I love what I do still, despite all the red tape and the chaos and circus around.
Well, the patient expectations, though, you're playing a different game because you are so good at the PR and showing off killer results.
Thank
What
you.
cosmetic patients want is transformation.
Yeah,
We don't just want to look better, we want it to be a game changer.
I know.
And so
Yeah.
the stakes are high.
Expectations have increased for sure.
How are
Expect
you doing it? Are you using computer imaging? Are you drawing? What are you doing to set it?
I do drawing. I don't use computer imaging. I like to do drawing.
Mhm.
I actually like, I'll do it right now for you. So here's a blank
Okay.
piece of paper. So
Mhm.
basically, I go and I draw the buttock and I actually publish this. I have an ABC system where we plan the surgery. And so if you see a buttock, I just drew that real quick.
Oh,
Okay.
nice. Yeah,
Thanks.
nice.
So you have to have a sense of aesthetic to
Yeah,
be
I
able
want
to
that.
do this. And so, we have different areas like A, B, and C. And so I talk to them different ways about how are we going to fill each of the area and what's your aesthetic. I'll even draw their rib cage and the floating ribs and talk to them about how the rib anatomy influences how much of this fat we can remove right in this arrow spot.
Nice.
So, I do that, or like sometimes I'll draw a nose, like I'll draw a nose with like a hump kind of drooping down, nostrils flared,
Mhm.
and then I'll draw kind of like what the aesthetic nose would look like if we like lifted it up and brought the nostrils down, and I show what these moves are going to be.
Nice.
So that's just an easy, fast sketch. But so I like drawing because I like to draw the cartilage, the anatomy. It's hard to draw a three-dimensional face. For that, I like to show them some illustrations. However, I think imaging, I just never really wanted to take the time to do it because I'm like, what if I don't do it right? They take it home and they don't like it. Because I've had people come to me, show me imaging on their phone they got. They're like, I
Mhm.
don't want to go to this guy. Look what he did. And if
Mhm.
I lose a patient because I didn't spend time enough to do the graphic in an accurate way, I'd be so annoyed at myself. But the one reason I don't do it for noses is because I still don't like how accurate it is when they do a hump removal and lifting a tip and some nostril from the side. When you turn that to the front, it doesn't correlate in real life how that three dimensionality works yet. I haven't seen it. Maybe with AI it'll change. We used to use breast augmentation 3D imaging because we would pop in different implants. Even that wasn't fully accurate because it doesn't allow for the feel and thickness and thinness of the tissue. That imaging software doesn't know the pinch skin thickness up here is 2 centimeters. Here it's zero point 0.5 centimeters. The veins are showing here. The rib cage is here, but not here. One rib's like this, and one rib's like this. It doesn't account for all those variables. So that's why I think the last medical specialty AI could ever take over is mine.
Okay, good. All right. Talking about photos and videos, you've done a killer job of getting people on camera,
Mm-hmm.
and everyone says, "Oh, my patients are so private." And I think, well, then how does he do
So am
it?
I. Well, I only get like maybe I trust me, I wish I'm not even gonna say his name, but that guy in New York is so lucky to have all these people not cease and desist and help him out with that facelifting. Oh my God. I've never seen such a thing in my entire 20 years. If only three of my major patients came out like that, we still wouldn't be able to talk right now because right now it's after my surgeries today, it's 5 o'clock. I wouldn't have the time. I would just be so overbooked. I don't even know if I want that. So a lot of the ones that I would wish they would be more public and come out and I could do such creative things with them don't want to be. They're private. The majority of my patients are private. I've gotten maybe about 5% to be vocal.
Hmm.
And a lot of times it's not about surgery. It's more about the non-surgical stuff we've done. So, most people still don't want to talk about their surgical procedure. The one thing that seems to be less taboo seems to be breast augmentation, especially after kids. I
Hmm.
feel like that's something that a woman doesn't get too much weird hate on
Hmm.
if she talks about because you can't really like work out and exercise to reinflate droopy breasts after breastfeeding or like after having kids. So people don't fault those women for getting lifts and breast augmentations as much. So I think some people are just worried about the judgment they'll receive. And also in the celebrity world, you don't blame them. They want to keep their status partly because the whole point of being a celebrity is that they're being celebrated as being a little bit superhuman, almost like an athlete is, like these breaking records stuff. And so they don't want to admit to the fact that they are not as pretty or as hot as people think they are and they needed help. But in general, most people that are smart enough know that there's almost no celebrity out there that hasn't had work done.
For
I don't
sure.
think I've really met one in all my years. It's at the very least they're getting a little bit of Botox filler and some lasering at the least, and almost all have had some form of liposuction.
Hmm. Well, your Instagram shows a whole bunch of patients that are really happy and looking transformative. So
Yeah,
somehow, I think the going rate in your kind of area, it's like 1 out of 10 will give you approval. You just have to do a lot
yeah,
of surgery and get as
yeah.
many yeses as you can,
Yeah, yeah. I'm very busy still. I'm blessed, even though it's a little bit of a down market right now. It's a little slow everywhere from what I hear.
Yeah.
So I think people in general right now, there's some people that just, even people who can afford it and wouldn't even hurt their bank accounts to get like $150,000 facelift. They're being hesitant because people are like not very secure with the future of the world, their country, politics, what their leaders are doing. They know they've been lied to left and right. People have lost confidence in their leadership and in their future direction and where they're living, the crime rates. And I mean, that's what I'm feeling from Los Angeles. And I know celebrities, some of the most major celebrities I've gotten close to are moving out of LA, where they've been LA. People equate LA with them, and they're like, I'm leaving. It's horrific what's happening, and it is affecting the luxury market. That's why a lot of you look on Rodeo Drive, and a lot of the shopping's being done by people who are visiting from China and Russia and Saudi Arabia and Dubai and stuff. It's not from locals.
But I don't know if that's sustainable. Can you count on that?
You
You know?
definitely can't count on that.
Yeah.
For my industry, with immigration and people feeling not very welcome traveling to the United States from other countries, it's hurt me in that sense too.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Your Instagram was able to, you know how Google wants to restrain you and they just want to show local searches for you.
Uh-huh.
But Instagram lets you expand to all over the
Okay.
world. Is that
Yeah.
still a big part of your business?
You know what's interesting? I don't know how people still find me on Instagram because I'm so shadow banned. My page is so hidden. It's never on Explore. I've had
You
numerous,
have 572,000 followers.
yeah, those are organic good followers. I've never paid for them, but the number of engagement views and my posts being shown and my story views is not as high as it should be for that because I don't know what the reason is. I think Instagram's getting harder and harder, and it's kind of like pay for play a little bit. And also, from what I hear and what I've had people investigate, colleagues around town and people report pages, report posts to get them taken down. And Instagram doesn't always investigate them thoroughly. I've
Mm.
had posts of mine removed that violate no terms whatsoever, whereas on my Explore page, I see basically nudity, full nudity in a sexual context. And my before after S curve is being taken down. So it's really interesting. I mean, I do have those followers, but the engagement and the number of views I should be getting is not what it should be. So for whatever reason, I don't know who is getting those numbers anymore. And I think maybe it's facial plastic surgeons that never showed any body work. I don't know. But it's really hard to tell what's going on because we have no control over that algorithm. That's why still having a good website is important.
For sure. Are you dabbling in TikTok at all?
My staff wants me to. I really just I want to do as little as possible. I'm like, if you guys want to do most of it, and I'll come in here and there, you can go for it. And a lot of times, TikTok is run mostly by the staff. They're like younger, they want to be on it. My own daughter's like, you need to be on TikTok more. So I think we're going to start dabbling more in that market. But it's interesting. What discouraged me, and I don't know who reported this, my first TikTok post was just a montage of me on podiums lecturing around the world, and it
Mhm.
got taken down. It got
Why?
it got reported. So you
Why?
can imagine like how certain people are just really looking at what I'm doing and really wanting to take me down. It's pretty
Is it
crazy.
your competitors complaining and
Yeah, I
that's
think
why?
so. I think
Yeah,
it's the competitors. Who else would do that? Yeah.
right. Who else cares that much?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
But you do have a podcast. So
Yeah.
I've had a podcast for, I don't know, 5 or 6 years now, and it's not for the faint of heart. You have to put out a lot of content. So
Yeah.
how's it going?
I like it. I have fun doing it. I'm trying to lay back from micromanaging the editing of it because I feel like in our industry, it's important to put visuals up.
Mhm.
So I'm hoping and I'm trusting my social media team knows what images to put up as I'm talking to make it more interesting. Because with plastic surgery, it's different than like Huberman and Atia and these health guys. I don't think you need to watch them talk as much. But with
Hmm.
plastic surgery, when I'm talking about Regenolift 1, 2, and 3, it's nice to see a graphic come up as I'm talking, I think. So
That's a good
um, that aspect of it's a little bit time consuming, but for me, it's easy to talk. So for me, at some point, I'm going to start having more interesting guests, and I'm going to go with it. I'm going to continue with it.
Nice. We almost forgot to talk about this. You have a regenerative lift 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah,
What's the
yeah.
difference?
So Regenolift is basically an acronym, REGNE. So the R is for regenerative philosophy, which means whenever possible, we do exosomes, stem cells, nanofat, fat grafting, which is kind of regenerative. The E is for elevate, and then for eyebrows and eyelids, because you usually can't ignore that aspect with facial rejuvenation, even in someone young. The G is for growth factors. The next E is for basically energy. So some type of like laser usually is going with it. And this is for 1, 2, and 3. The N is for nanofat, and the last E is for just elevation, and it's mostly in a vertical vector. So it's Regenolift. Now there's 1, 2, 3 because for Regenolift 1, it's really more for somebody who just needs a little refresher and facial shaping. So they're getting fat grafting, maybe buccal fat pad removal, slightly, not all of it, some tightening of their skin here, some jawline fat grafting, and then whether with the R for rhinoplasty is in parentheses. Rhinoplasty is with all of them. You either need it or you don't. And then some of these people can even get a little bit of an eyelid lift. So I did a Regenolift 1 on one of my estheticians lately. Regenolift 2 is when we're doing more of an open approach. We're doing more endoscopic work. So like today I did one where we go with a camera approach, endoscopically lift the brows, grab the mid face with it, and
Mm,
then and we can go either with a camera or directly here and tighten the platysma muscle here, remove a little skin, but it does not involve this incision. Then
mm,
Regenerative 3 is a full face high smash under the smash deep plane facelift, where I'm going here, brow lift if necessary. The neck is obviously open in the back, platysma. The fat graftings with all three. Lasers or peel or something for your skin is with all three. So it's kind of a different graded approach to how extensive you get, with the final one ending up being a full facelift.
wow. All right. I saw that article that you wrote or you contributed to or something that was how much should a facelift cost?
Oh, the
3,000,
Wall Street
300,000.
Journal? Yeah, I know it's crazy. I mean, in New York right now, because of one guy, a lot of the New York surgeons that are good are able to raise their prices too. So the going rate, I think, definitely, you can't get a really good facelift, I think, in parts of LA and New York for under 100,000 right now, at least with someone reputable.
Wow.
Which,
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, it makes sense. If you can afford it, people pay to get a car, and you can, get care credit and finance it too. You don't have to pay it all at once. So people are financing, really nice Mercedes luxury cars for about anywhere from 75 to 150, $200,000. And this is your face we're talking about. Like, this is something also you want to do, hopefully not again for about 8 to 15 years. What's crazy is some of the most expensive surgeons right now are doing these little tiny mastectomy lifts, which last maybe 2, 3 years tops. And they're
Hmm.
commanding $200,000 to $300,000 for those, which is insane. To me, if you're going to go and spend over 100,000 for a facelift, no matter who you go to, they better be going under the smash. They better be taking their time to restore your anatomy naturally and do it deep and something that lasts. And it should almost include a little touch up if that's necessary in a future. But like, for someone to rejowl and drop a year or 2 years after a $200,000, $300,000 facelift, it's insane to me. And I'm seeing that right now in certain people where you look at them, you're like, they had a facelift from how long ago? And they're already dropping and deflating. Because one of the key things, and Fritz Barton was on my first podcast, he was my main mentor for the high smash, which is the technique he created, which is where it's high because it's above this bone, your malar zygomatic bone, it goes above that. When you're
Mm,
above here, going under the smash this high, you're able to recruit the cheek fat pad and bring that up too. So you don't have
mm,
to compensate by adding so much fat there. And a lot of facelift techniques, if you really look at this area, they're lacking. They might correct the neck and the jaw for a while, but if you look carefully right here, this area is not being elevated vertically as much. And that recruitment of this cheek fat pad, you can only do if you approach above. You can't lift something if you're below it. A lot of the deep plane techniques are below that. And even if they're up here, they're not this high. So the high SNAS has that advantage to be able to lift this vertically. I mean, look at my facial shape. If I go vertically, look how narrow my face becomes. I'm moving my jowl and I'm recruiting this cheek fat pad up. This one and this side still dropped. So if you're paying 100, 200, $300,000, your surgeon better be knowing some advanced techniques. That's all I gotta say.
Or they're going to be back in 2 years asking for a refund or a
I
really
don't
bad.
think so. I think some of those surgeons have a mystique or some weird voodoo around them where like whatever they say or touch is gold. I don't know how some people do it.
Yeah, I don't either.
Yeah.
Let's talk about non-surgical because it looks like you also, where does non-surgical fit into your practice?
So I don't advertise that I do fillers and Botox. Only people that come here who've had surgery with me and who talk to the staff know that I do because I don't have enough time to do those during clinic. But I love doing them and I know where to put the filler. I know how to do the Botox in a very different way. And they always tell me, they're like, huh, that didn't hurt a lot. And you do it so differently than the last times I've had it done. Because I approach it almost in a surgical way, as if I'm injecting fat. So the difference between me and a dermatologist is when you've gone under and you know what the muscle looks like underneath and you know where it is and how it feels and looks, you can fill that deep tissue over the bone in a different way than most other injectors, providers, nurses, and there's more comfort there. So once you're doing facelifting and you're doing fat grafting all the time in the face, fillers is nothing. Like it's like I could do it with one eye closed, but I still love the simplicity of it and the right person and not doing too much. And then whenever I'm going in and doing facelifting or fat transfer, if they have filler on board, I'm dissolving all of it and replacing it. Yeah. And we have every laser under the sun here. We have some of the best tightening modalities through InMode. We have all the radio frequencies, both in the OR and in the clinic. We have every type of laser you can imagine. We even have like vaginal sexual rejuvenation, tightening stuff. We have a lot of things here that I don't necessarily advertise, but people that come to the practice know. So really, when people come here, if they're interested, there's really nowhere else they need to go.
Huh. And do you have other revenue generating team members there?
So yeah, I have an aesthetics nurse who's the main person in my GPS Aesthetics Med Spa. She does all the lasering. And then Dr. Varanis, who was my fellow years ago, is one of my young associates. He does all the stuff I do surgically, and he also does a lot more in the clinic. So he'll do a lot of the fat grafting awake in the clinic. But we make people comfortable. We have Pronox. We really know, because we're surgeons, how to really numb you well, so you're super comfortable. And if necessarily, we have different lozenges and things you can take to relax too. And we make it a very comfortable experience. So he does a lot of stuff in clinic in addition to all the things I do in the surgery center.
That is so important to keep the patient pain-free as much as possible.
Yeah,
That's how you're going to get them to come back because we all remember the
exactly.
pain. Men will never come back, but women will come back for a bit. But
Yeah.
if they
I've
find
had
out
men
that
come back. No, I've had men come back. I have one guy who I did a tummy tuck on and a neck lift, and he's come back for other stuff. So they come back. It's just, it's interesting. I talk to these recovery places, recovery facilities, and a lot of them, the feedback they give is that we love his patients because when they come, they're not writhing in pain. So
right.
even when I do a tummy tuck, like they love receiving my patients because they come comfortable for the most part. It's how you treat the body. If you know where things are and you know where to not go. And like for the flash recovery breast dog, if you're not hitting the ribs with your instruments and you're only using cautery to peel the stuff off dry with no bleeding, no bruising deep, if you don't have deep bruising, you're not going to have pain.
Have you explained that in your YouTube videos? Because that's the kind of thing that consumers need to know, and they would
Yeah.
never know that unless you tell
I
them.
mean, we've said it ad nauseum so many different occasions. I don't know if people don't want to feel like scrolling or doing a deep dive or not. I should probably have a podcast just on breast augmentation and how I do it differently. But it's on my YouTube because I have Ricky Lake, the doctors,
Yeah.
all the different TV shows that I used to do that on. At some point, you kind of get exhausted. I thought at this point in my career, I
Yeah.
wouldn't have to do that much, but I'm realizing it's exhausting because I'm competing against guys who are out 3, 4 years who have a lot of time on their hands. They're younger, they're better looking, and they have a staff that's like excited and vibrant, and they want to go and talk and educate and this and that. Even if they don't have cases under their belt, people get drawn to go to them because they're talking to them directly now. And it's like, I'm busy operating. So wouldn't you rather go to someone who's busy operating, has thousands of cases under his belt? It's like going and flying in an airplane with a company that you don't know what their track record is because they have really cool, upholstery on their seats. It's like,
But you don't know any better when you're a consumer. You just,
I mean, I would think common sense would tell you to go to someone who's probably experienced. I
yeah.
don't know. Yeah, but I mean, most of those people, I mean, they've done the right training and they're probably adept at it. But like when they get into a situation or they come across something, like by now, I rarely get surprised by anything in the operating room. I'm like, oh, I've seen this before. Oh, I've this is just like that one case 3 years ago. Like you've
Mm.
seen so much that there's nothing new. And that's what you want when you're going through something unknown like surgery in a sense, and it's your body and you don't know exactly what the outcome is going to be. Would you rather go through the Amazon forest with like a trained, person who like knows the Amazon forest and knows how to like avoid a puma coming down from the tree and has a machete in his hand and a backpack with everything you need? Or do you want to kind of venture off with some good looking young guide who like has only been there a few times?
But he's a third of your rate, so they'll take
Yeah.
that into consideration, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. I guess. No, pricing, I'm not going to drop. I mean, that's one thing I'm not going to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what would you say is the biggest challenge of running a solo practice in today's environment?
I think it's really just that my competition is really dishonesty.
Mm.
And dishonesty these days is veiled very well through social media and companies that can write fake reviews and report competitors and take down their posts. And like, that's been my biggest challenge is that I can't market honestly like I used to because it's like everything I like, it's just a challenge because everyone's like doing that. And then it's like everyone's like, why don't you go on TikTok and do this? Why don't you go do this? Why don't you do this? It's like I've done all that. Like I've done all of that. I was one of the first to do it. And it's like now I have to like come out with the energy and figure out where to find the time to revamp. The one thing I've done is the podcast because I feel like that's an elevated way to continue me talking to the audience in a long format. And we'll take excerpts of it out, but I don't know how many people are actually tuning in. So it's a whole nother avenue.
It all counts. A nice
Yeah,
long
yeah.
podcast.
No, I
We put
agree. I
that up
agree.
and
Yeah,
we
it takes time. And that's one thing I have that most of the young colleagues I have don't have is patience.
right.
I know that this is a long game.
Right. We
You
do.
might be able to mark. That's why I don't follow trends. When there's a trend of a procedure or something, and like the best example is Kybella. When Kybella came out, I knew from my research, common sense, and my training that it's not going to work well. It's going to be hocus pocus. And same with Cool Sculpt. All these things that everyone's like, you got to get a Cool Sculpt machine. You got to do Kybella. Why don't you have Kybella? I'm like, because it doesn't work. I don't want to go into something just to make a year or 2 years of revenue from it and then have it go away. Like I want something that's like actually the right thing to do for someone. So
Right.
I don't follow those trends and this and that.
So what are your plans for, I don't know, scaling or exiting? Any plans for that?
Oh, no, no, no. Do I look that old? I don't know. Why would I exit?
Well, some of the
Oh,
surgeons actually have a plan to leave at 55. They're not
yeah.
planning to do this forever. So I don't know.
I
How do
mean,
you?
it's my only source of revenue, so I don't see how you can. What would you do at 55 if you don't work? I don't know. I think working is a great thing. It's a virtue in life to be able to work, have a purpose. To me, this is one of my purposes still, and I do it well. People rely on me. People count on me still, and so I'm busy enough. And I still have celebrities and people that are the movers and shakers coming back sending people to me. I'm pretty blessed. There's no reason to leave at your prime.
Yeah.
So I think it's a mistake for these surgeons to be selling their practices in their prime into equity fields. I think
Yeah.
that's a big error. A lot of them are trying to come back from it because they're like, oops, like whenever something's too good to be true, it always is, and it just selling your practice to some equity firm for 10 million and like being on salary for 3 years and stuff. What are you going to do for work? Like that, this is one of my main purposes. Of course, I have hobbies. After this, I'm going to go rehearse at a studio because we're all playing at the Viper Room with some of the other aesthetics fellowship and plastic surgeons in town. We have a band. We're playing at the Viper Room in November 1st. So I'm going to go rehearse at a studio tonight, and it's going to be like 6 p.m. And I operate it all day. I still have the energy to do all this, and it's my fun. It's my purpose. The only downside, like I said, is handling dishonesty, and some of the patient expectations are a little unrealistic these days.
So just to wrap it up, give me a patient or staff story that is interesting that you care to share.
Staff story, patient story. There's so many. I don't know how to do it without being anonymous. Well, one thing that's cool that happens to me all the time that I love is almost all the time when I'm out on the weekend, I have people come up to me, and I've operated on so many people that I don't know what they look familiar. So I never know when someone's approaching me. Is this a happy patient, unhappy patient, or is this somebody I dated in college that I don't remember? Or is this like, you know what I mean? So it's like, who is this person? Sometimes I'm like, I don't recognize them right away. But the best thing, and I love it, is I'll go. It happens to me when I go hiking, when I'm at a restaurant. It's happened to me in other countries, Palm Springs, international, New York. People come up and they're like, "Oh my God, you did my nose 10 years ago. I got married. Here's my kid. You changed my life." Or like somebody's like, "Oh my God, Dr. Ghavami, like you did my sister's breast dog and she still loves them." And these are literally just the day-to-day kind of stories when I'm out and about that I come across. And that makes things worthwhile. That really touches me on a level that gives me energy to battle the BS of having a busy practice in Beverly Hills. You know, among all the sharks and the weirdos and the colleagues and the competitors that like will stop at nothing to try to like ruin you. You know, it's a very tough market right now, and the economy is not the best. They're predicting a crash. I hope that doesn't happen, because usually when they say that, it doesn't mean they're predicted it, it means they're planning it. So I think it's just that day-to-day story of me coming across these different people and having them be recognize me from far away and take the time to come up to me and thank me after years and years.
I usually ask, tell us an interesting story about you, but you already said it. You have this band and you all play guitars. Like you sounded
Yeah.
good in your video. Like you were cranking, you know?
Thanks. Yeah, yeah. We're gonna do that song again. We're gonna do some Zeppelin, Guns N' Roses, the stuff I grew up learning on my guitar. So it's kind of fun. I'm tired, but I'm gonna go there and rally, as they say. I also race my car here and there, and I'm trying to get into wellness, but wellness really requires time. And
Mm.
so all the things I know I need to be doing, sometimes you just end up not having the time to do it. That's the one thing that I need to improve, is taking time out for myself.
Well, I've seen you at Pure. You're
Yeah,
doing,
yeah.
cold plunges, the sauna.
Yeah, but
You're
you need to be doing
doing
it 3, 4 days a week, you know, once a month isn't enough. But yeah, I try to get in things like that when I can.
Yeah, I take cold showers because I read all of those guys and they say, okay, now we're supposed to cold plunge. Okay, let's do a cold
Yeah.
shower. I
Cold
think,
plunging is kind of hit and miss. I think for women it's not as important as men. And
you know
women
what it
don't.
is for me? It's a mind game.
Yeah,
I'm just making myself do it. So that's why I'm doing it, for the
yeah.
mental health of it. But otherwise, I mean, you could have a heart attack when you're older.
I don't think that's ever happened, but technically, yeah, if you're very unhealthy. But basically, women don't need it to be much colder than 60 degrees
Good.
Fahrenheit.
I'm glad to
Men
hear
need it to be like 50 or below usually. And so we're 10 degrees off. So it's not as cold for you guys.
that.
But also, you don't need to do it for more than 1 to 3 minutes. You know, I like to go for 5 if I do it. More important is the sauna. The sauna aspect is good for both men and women, 3 days a week, really
Mm.
hot, stay in there for 15 to 20 minutes. And those kind of things are important. But the most important are the basics, you know, just regular mobility, stretching, exercise, mindfulness, and deep breathing and centering and grounding, and sleep, getting good sleep, and then
I
just not
saw that
eating.
you sleep 7 to 8 hours. I thought, good for you. I thought maybe you were one of those 4 hour a night kind of guys because
No,
you do a
I
lot.
don't. I don't get 7, 8 hours all the time. and that's mostly on vacation. But as long as I get 6.5 or more, I'm okay.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. If somebody wanted to get a hold of you, how would they?
So,
Website? Instagram?
we have so many different ways to get a hold of me, both on my website, GhavamiPlasticSurgery.com. Maybe you can provide a link.
I will.
And Dr. Ghavami, my Instagram is one of the main ways people go. There's an email and a call area there where they can get a hold of us. Once again, through the website, we get a lot of increase still through the website because they'll go from Instagram to the website. Those are the main two paths. And then I definitely encourage people to subscribe and tune into the podcast because we're going to keep rolling out more episodes. And I really put all my pearls and wisdom and things in there, things that I sometimes hold back when I'm lecturing at conferences because I don't necessarily want my colleagues to know all my little secrets. My podcast is a free for all. I just spill it out and say whatever's on my mind. So you guys will get the most of me there.
It's very entertaining. I've listened to 2 of them. They're very good.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here, everyone. That's going to wrap it up for us. Yeah, we'll wrap it up for us. If you would, please subscribe to Beauty in the Biz so you don't miss any future episodes. And then if you've got any questions or feedback for me, please leave them on my website at KatherineMaley.com, or you can certainly DM me at Instagram at KatherineMaleyMBA. Thanks so much, and we'll talk again soon.
The fastest way to success is to model other successful surgeons who have what you want, but you can only see their results, not the path they took to get there. So you continue to jump from one thing to another, hoping to find something that will work for you too. But it rarely does. So try this shortcut instead. It's guaranteed to move you forward. I compiled my intellectual property to grow cosmetic revenues, everything I've gleaned over the years, into one playbook of the most successful practices and what they do to win. Go to cosmeticpracticevault.com and let's grow your cosmetic revenues.